What if the entire fintech industry as we know it, all the flashy apps, the peer-to-peer payment systems, the digital banks, is currently being replaced by something fundamentally different?
Hmm.
What if the internet itself is evolving, moving from an information-only network to a native information and value network, one that renders clumsy, band-aid solutions like credit card processing and international wire transfers obsolete?
That is the core disruptive thesis we are deep diving into today.
Huh.
You really hit on the crucial pain point there.
Mm.
For decades, we've treated value transfer online as, well, an afterthought. It
Completely.
was always a separate, cumbersome step bolted onto our communication protocols. You use HTTP to browse, SMTP for email, but then when you want to pay for
You
something,
get pulled out of the experience entirely.
exactly, you're sent way over there to SWIFT, to Visa, to ACH. It's a completely different system.
And that separation created massive friction. And I don't just mean physical friction, like pulling out your wallet. It
Yeah.
was cognitive friction.
The mental load.
The mental load, it's the reason true, granular micropayments, the ability to send a fraction of a penny, have remained, well, impossible for so long. It's not necessarily that the transaction fees were too high, although they often were.
Right, that's part of it, but not the whole story.
The sheer cognitive and temporal cost of opening your banking app, logging in, authorizing a transfer, it often exceeded the value of the transaction itself. I mean, try sending 5 cents today using a traditional bank.
Right.
The system is designed to reject that kind of behavior.
It is. It's architected for large, infrequent transfers, not high-velocity, high-frequency signals of value. But a quiet, profoundly transformative shift is underway globally. We're witnessing a massive evolution from what we've known as fintech financial technology, which largely just applies technology to old payment rails,
Right, digitizing the old world.
to what we call FiNa, or financial native.
Financial native, I like that. So this isn't just about iterating on existing payment options, is it? It's about a foundational, ground-up re-architecture of the internet's base layer.
It absolutely is. The
Yeah.
goal of the FiNa movement is a world where value transfer is not an add-on, but is built into the very protocol of every major application.
Okay, so think of it this way. What if every app you use, from social media to streaming services to e-commerce, had a payment mechanism that was as inherent and seamless as, say, hitting send on an email?
That's the vision. This trend is truly global, yet it's been largely missed because, frankly, the massive focus on AI has sucked all the air out of the technological discourse.
It really has.
But I would argue this convergence of identity and value is just as profound. It's creating economic pathways where none existed before. We are seeing platforms that embed Bitcoin's Lightning Network as a core architectural feature, making the wallet an invisible utility, not a separate dedicated application you have to open and manage.
What's so fascinating here is that this shift isn't only about making transactions cheaper. It heralds a fundamental change in how humans interact online.
A huge change.
We are rapidly moving beyond the passive, low-stakes like economy, where you send a signal of approval that costs the sender nothing, to a much more dynamic and consequential zap economy.
A zap economy. I love that term because this is where money moves instantly, at the speed of information, carrying real value and signal at the same time.
The technical key to unlocking this, though, for the billion non-native users we are targeting, it seems to be a simple concept that solves a hugely complex problem: the Lightning address.
That's absolutely right. The Lightning address is the consumer-facing interface layer. It's a protocol, technically it's LUD16, that abstracts away all the complicated cryptography of the underlying Lightning network.
It hides the complexity.
It completely hides it. It transforms a complex, single-use alphanumeric payment endpoint into a simple, human-readable identifier that we can actually use.
So instead of needing that massive string of letters and numbers every single time you want to receive money, you get a recognizable address that looks exactly like an email or a social media handle.
Like user@primal.net or gamertag@zbd.gg.
Right. It is instantly linkable to your digital identity, easy to share, and crucially, it's permanent.
It acts as the necessary bridge. It assigns a permanent financial inbox to every digital identity. So leading platforms like Primal in social media, Fountain in audio, and ZBD in gaming can now provision that custodial wallet automatically and assign this user-friendly address. And that allows their users to receive funds asynchronously without ever needing to manage the underlying complexity of the network.
And this is exactly why it matters, right? It makes the wallet feel less like a savings vault, a place for long-term storage, and more like a simple checking account for the internet.
A hot wallet for daily use.
Exactly. It's optimized for high-velocity, small-value transactions. This seamless one-click experience is the frictionless on-ramp we've needed for the next billion users, and that is what we're deep diving into today. The invisible wallets powering the financial native revolution.
And our mission is really to move past the hype and just showcase the incredible real-world applications that are already in full production, demonstrating this new financial native internet in action. I'm Satoshi.
And I'm Satoshi. Welcome back. Your response to our deep dives has been incredible, and the sheer volume of research we're now processing requires some serious resources. To keep this research hub running and build out dedicated video explorations to tackle some of these dense topics visually, we really do need your help.
We're aiming to unlock funding for a dedicated Mosaic AI video editor by hitting 1,000 subscribers.
So please take a moment to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Fountain.fm, or, wherever you listen to support this work. It really does make a difference.
And just a quick note on the deep dive materials we referenced. Our in-depth YouTube course on Nostr, for instance, explores its critical role in enabling this value-enabled web.
Right.
It offers some promising solutions for the issues plaguing AI-generated media content today, specifically, how to prove original content. That link is in the description.
So let's set aside the application layer for a moment and look at the actual invisible engine making it all work. We have to understand the core technological foundation and, critically, the trade-offs involved in achieving this mass adoption.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire adoption explosion relies entirely on effective abstraction. The native Lightning Network protocol, Bolt 11, was a genius piece of engineering.
It really was.
It created the ability to conduct instant, virtually free microtransactions. But, and this is a big but, it was fundamentally incompatible with establishing a static social identity.
Okay, let's unpack this with a better analogy. We established that Bolt 11 required you to generate a unique, long, alphanumeric string and invoice for every single transaction you wanted to receive.
Yeah, think of it like this. Imagine if every time someone wanted to text you, you had to instantly generate a brand new unique phone number just for that one text message.
That's completely impractical.
Totally impractical for establishing a static social or financial identity that can reliably receive tips, zaps, or streaming payments over time, especially in a social media context. You can't put a single-use phone number in your Twitter bio.
So LUD16, the Lightning Address Protocol, is the clever concierge that solves this. It allows the system to feel like a permanent email address, but function with the ephemeral security of Bolt 11.
Precisely. The process is a two-step handshake that happens in milliseconds. When a sender inputs a human-readable address, say alice@primal.net, the sender's wallet software initiates an external query.
A query to Primal's server.
Right. It uses a standard HTTP request to Primal's domain at a predefined endpoint. The sender's wallet is basically saying, hey, I want to pay Alice.
And Primal's server, the LED16 server, responds with crucial metadata.
Correct. The server responds with the terms of service, you could say. Things like the minimum and maximum amounts you can send to that address, whether they support comments, and how long the resulting invoice will be valid for. This lets the sender's wallet format the request correctly.
That makes sense. The sender's wallet now knows the rules of the game.
Then the sender's wallet specifies the exact amount, let's say 50 Satoshis, and sends that amount request back to the server. The server instantly generates a standard single-use Bolt 11 invoice specifically for those 50 sats and returns it to the sender. The sender's wallet then instantly pays that invoice.
All in the background.
All in the background in less than a second. For the application developers, running this LUD16 server is a core infrastructure requirement. It's what allows their users to receive funds asynchronously without needing to manage their own complex channels. It shields the user entirely from the cryptographic backend.
That instant convenience and ease of use is clearly the key driver for adoption. But this leads us directly to the critical, unavoidable element of the entire FiNa revelation, what you're calling the custodial compromise.
Yes.
The core difference between these acts and the older, more complex non-custodial wallets.
The distinction is absolutely pivotal, and we have to be really clear about it. Older, non-custodial wallets like Phoenix or Mune prioritize sovereignty. They operate under the golden rule of Bitcoin. You hold your own private keys.
Not your keys, not your coins.
Exactly. But that sovereignty comes with significant technical overhead. Managing channel capacity, paying on-chain fees to open those channels, and being personally responsible for secure offline backups.
Which, let's be honest, most normal people simply do not want to deal with when all they want is to tip a podcaster 10 cents or buy a virtual item in a game for $1.
They want instant gratification and zero complexity.
That is the hard truth that FiNa developers have embraced.
It is. So applications like Primal, ZBD, and Fountain, they operate on a custodial model. The application developer runs a massive, professional, well-connected Lightning node. When you receive funds to your Lightning address, the payment actually settles on the developer's node.
And your personal balance within the app is merely updated in their internal database. A simple ledger entry.
Precisely. Your sats are internal database entries on the developer's private ledger. And the benefit of this is revolutionary. Instant onboarding. You can download Primal, and you can receive a tip within seconds without ever having to wait for a block confirmation on the Bitcoin blockchain or setting up a liquidity channel.
And what about transactions inside the same app?
Even better. Internal transactions, so user A zapping user B, where they're both on Primal, are entirely off-chain ledger updates. This allows for high-frequency, sub-cent payments with zero routing fees. This is the necessary lubricant for the Zap economy to work at scale today.
But wait, doesn't the sheer convenience of this custodial approach just invite regulatory overreach? And more importantly, doesn't it fundamentally undermine the sovereignty principles that decentralized systems were supposed to deliver in the first place?
You are posing the central paradox of FiNa. The convenience brings a necessary trade-off. The user is not holding the private keys.
The developer is.
The application developer is the custodian. If we were to look at this from a legal perspective, the golden rule, not your keys, not your coins, applies rigidly here. You are trusting the application developer to remain solvent, to maintain robust security, and to not be malicious.
So if ZBD or Primal were to face insolvency, the funds credited to my account are just database entries, which means I am technically an unsecured creditor in a bankruptcy proceeding.
That's right.
My funds are not segregated assets, they are a corporate liability.
That is the sober reality check. These apps must be viewed strictly as hot wallets or checking accounts for small, daily, high-velocity spending, not long-term savings accounts. Developers often consistently encourage users to sweep excess funds to self-custody cold storage once they reach a certain threshold.
So it's an on-ramp.
It's an on-ramp to utility, sacrificing total sovereignty for unparalleled accessibility and speed, a necessary trade-off to get the first billion users into the ecosystem.
Okay, now that we understand the invisible engine, the Lightning address, and this custodial compromise, let's see how this model is transforming key sectors. Let's start with social media. The integration of value into social networking, especially through the Nostr protocol, is arguably the most mature and visible implementation of FiNa.
And Primal is the leading example of vertical integration here. Nostr is a protocol built around decentralized, relay-based communication. While it is protocol agnostic regarding payments, Primal built a seamless custodial financial service right into the client application.
The user experience is just frictionless. The moment you download Primal and create your Nostr identity, your public and private key pair Primal automatically provisions a custodial Lightning wallet linked to that identity. It's a one-click activation.
And that's the ingenious part of the plumbing. The user is instantly assigned a Lightning address in the format username@primal.net. Crucially, this address is then written directly into the user's Nostr profile metadata.
Okay, and this metadata is known as the kind0 event.
Correct. It's the universal identifier for a Nostr profile. Because this financial address is embedded in the kind.e event, it makes the user financially reachable by any other client in the entire Nostr ecosystem, not just other Primal users.
That is the very definition of financial native. The wallet is simply a default integrated feature of your identity. So the little lightning bolt icon you see next to a post in your feed is preloaded with the author's Lightning address, ready to be tapped.
And this infrastructure is specifically optimized for economic velocity and signaling. We see that velocity play out in the actual transaction size. It's incredibly common for users in the Nostr ecosystem to zap 21 sats.
21 sats. Why that number?
The number 21 is a small nod to Bitcoin's 21 million supply cap. This 21 sat amount is roughly 1 US penny, and users perform this action dozens of times daily.
And if user A zaps user B and they're both Primal users?
That ZAP is a zero-fee internal ledger update. The system is essentially built on a free internal Venmo for microtransactions. But if user A zaps someone using a completely different wallet, say, a self-custody wallet like Phoenix Primal's Node seamlessly routes the payment out to the wider Lightning Network, shielding the user from the complexity of pathfinding, capacity management, and routing fees.
What's also fascinating here is how Primal is positioning itself for the long term, despite relying on custody today. You mentioned they use the Nostr Wallet Connect, or NWC, protocol.
Yes, and NWC is a crucial architectural decision. It's a standard that facilitates communication between the social client, the interface you see, and the wallet backend.
Why does this matter for the user? What's the benefit?
It standardizes the communication. It means that while Primal is the current custodial backend, the interface is built on an open standard. The protocol itself just defines the requests. Send 100 sats to this invoice, or check my balance.
So theoretically, a sophisticated Primal user could eventually swap out Primal's custodial server for their own self-hosted node.
Exactly. Maybe one they run on a home server, like an Umbrella, while still retaining the familiar Primal social interface.
So the standard allows for user choice and graduation to sovereignty down the line. That's critical for the health of the ecosystem. The default address might be tied to Primal's custody, but the user is not perpetually locked into Primal's interface.
Precisely.
And this FiNa revolution isn't confined to purely digital zapping. We're seeing it jump into the physical world, which is where LiftPay comes in, positioning itself as a key tool for commerce.
LiftPay is explicitly trying to blur that line between social identity and payment utility. Every LiftPay user receives a personalized username at liftpay.me address, which they explicitly market for commerce, not just tipping.
And they also leverage this address for NIP05 verification on Nostr.
Yes, and NIP005 verification, for our listeners who want native to this, is how a Nostr user proves that their public key is tied to a specific domain name, much like how a website proves ownership of its domain.
So it adds a layer of trust.
A huge layer of trust. LiftPay establishes a verified link between the user's social persona and their financial reputation. This gives the user a verified badge on Nostr clients and establishes trust in a highly decentralized network.
But the real standout feature that pulls this into the FiNa physical world is their support for Bolt cards. These are physical NFC chips, essentially prepaid cards, linked directly to the user's custodial LiftPay wallet.
So a user can tap their Bolt card at any merchant terminal that accepts NFC payments and pay instantly via the Lightning Network. This is a crucial step towards unification.
The same balance they use for instant zaps on Nostr, they can use to buy a coffee at a physical store.
It demonstrates the utility of a single, fluid digital balance across the entire spectrum of commerce.
And we're seeing this geographical component pop up in other apps, too, proving that FiNa is deeply interested in community and physical proximity. Take Club Orange, formerly the Orange Pill app.
Club Orange specifically focuses on physical interaction and community building. They help members of the community find each other in the real world using geolocation services. And their custodial wallet facilitates in-person interaction via proximity zapping.
So instead of awkwardly splitting a bill using a separate app, you can seamlessly send value to someone standing 10 feet away from you.
It replicates the ease and immediacy of handing someone cash, but with the speed and finality of the Lightning Network. Furthermore, they allow for GeoZap, where users can send funds to connect with the global community diaspora in specific regions, maybe supporting a local developer in Africa or an event in Europe. It gamifies community connection through tangible value transfer.
So this entire sector proves the Lightning address is fundamentally an identity tool, not just a payment instruction.
Absolutely.
We've established the identity and social utility. But if you can send a Satoshi to a friend 10 feet away, why can't you send a stream of Satoshis to a podcaster 10,000 miles away? This brings us powerfully into media consumption and the value for value, or V4V movement, which seems aimed at repairing broken monetization models.
That's the next critical deep dive. The traditional model forces content creators to sell user attention to advertisers. FiNa applications enable a direct, transparent streaming payment from consumers back to the creators, completely cutting out the middleman. And Fountain is the premier example of this shift in podcasting.
Fountain has fundamentally reimagined what a podcast player is. It's no longer just a passive tool for audio playback. It's designed from the ground up to be a financial streaming engine.
Right. Upon registration, every user is automatically provisioned a custodial Lightning wallet and a Lightning address. Username at fountain.fm.
The listener is transformed from a passive consumer into an active financial node on the network. You fund your wallet, you listen, and you send value continuously. But here's the unique architectural twist that makes Fountain so compelling. They also pay listeners via the listen to earn model.
Explain that for me. How does a listener earn money just by listening?
Well, Fountain partners with advertisers or promoters who want to sponsor content or specific clips. When a user engages with that promoted content, meaning the ad or clip plays, Fountain streams a small portion of the advertiser's payment directly into the listener's wallet.
So it literally monetizes the listener's attention and time, turning it into liquid capital that can be instantly spent elsewhere.
Exactly. So the core utility is not just the ability to hit a boost button to send a large tip, it's the continuous streaming payment.
Hmm.
The listener sets a rate, say 100 Satoshis per minute, and the wallet executes those micropayments continuously as long as the audio plays.
And this is where the genius of the Podcasting 2.0 standard comes in, specifically the podcast.value tag embedded in the RSS feed. That tag is a set of instructions that allows for complex, instant revenue splits.
So that 100 sats per minute sent by the listener might be automatically divided.
Yes. Maybe 70 sats are routed to the host, 20 sats to the guest who contributed to the segment, 5 sats to the producer for editing, and 5 sats to the app developer for providing the platform.
Fountain's custodial backend handles that complex multi-path routing instantly using internal ledger updates where possible. If you had to use traditional banking or credit card rails for that, it would be an expensive logistical and administrative nightmare.
Impossible, really. And the wallet is portable. Because the user has a standard Lightning address, they can use their Fountain balance to pay for things outside the app or receive tips for curating good clips.
So Fountain provides the full stack, the player, the streaming engine, and the built-in zero-setup custodial wallet. That makes it the superior choice for ease of use compared to competitors like Podverse, which typically require connecting an external third-party wallet.
It does. And this value for value model isn't limited to audio. We see Wavelake applying this directly to music streaming, allowing artists to bypass traditional platforms that can often take, 90% of the revenue generated.
For listeners, Wavelake provides a hosted custodial wallet for ease of funding and streaming, but for artists, Wavelake pioneered an extremely important feature that addresses the custodial compromise head-on, the bring your own address feature.
This is a massive step toward mitigating the single point of failure and custodial risk for creators. How does that work practically?
An artist doesn't have to keep their streaming revenue sitting on Wavelake's platform. They can input a Lightning address from another provider, say their ZBD gamer tag, a Primal address, or even a self-custody address if they run their own node right into their Wavelake profile.
So when a listener streams a song, Wavelake instantly routes the payment directly to that external address.
Exactly. It offloads the custodial responsibility onto the artist's preferred platform.
This highlights the deep ecosystem interconnectedness we're seeing, which is only possible because of the universal standard of the Lightning address. You have Wavelake, a music service partnered with ZBD, primarily a gaming fintech company, to power aspects of its payment infrastructure. They are all linked by one simple, standardized identity tool.
The Lightning address really is becoming the standard API for digital value transfer, and nowhere is that transition more compelling than in the gaming sector.
You're right. Gaming is often the Trojan horse for new technology adoption because gamers are already accustomed to proprietary digital currencies like V-Bucks or gems. Lightning just makes that currency interoperable and real.
And ZBD, or Zebedee, is the heavyweight infrastructure provider here. While they have a consumer app, their core innovation is the API that allows any game developer to integrate Lightning seamlessly.
ZBD abstracts the Lightning address into a permanent digital identity called the gamer tag, which follows the standard gamer tag at zbd.gg format. It acts as the user's permanent financial ID within the digital world.
That static identity is incredibly powerful for content creators and streamers, isn't it? A user can post it on their Twitch stream, embed it in their social bios, or use it inside a Discord server, and it works everywhere to receive tips or earn funds.
Absolutely. But the biggest consumer draw is cross-game portability. The ZBD wallet acts as a central clearinghouse. Value earned in one digital world, for instance, winning sats in the mobile game Bitcoin miner, is seamlessly credited to the user's ZBD wallet and then made portable.
So you can turn around and spend those same sats to tip a player in a completely different environment, like inside the popular competitive shooter CSGO via ZBD Infuse.
Exactly. The value you earn is no longer trapped within one proprietary ecosystem like V-Bucks are trapped in Fortnite.
But wait, ZBD is also merging the gaming space with the attention economy, tying back directly to the V4V model we just... So that dynamic forces the user to learn the utility of the universal connector, the ZBD gamer tag or some other address, as the reliable bucket that catches the flow of value. It's a key pedagogical tool for teaching users how to manage their FiNa identity.
Precisely.
Moving from gaming to the browser, the most direct way to integrate FiNa into the desktop web experience, we see apps focused on passive monetization and completely new payment architectures.
Slice is the primary example of passive monetization. It's a browser extension that silently monetizes user attention by replacing standard web ads with ads that actually stream value to the user.
Users accumulate slices, which convert to Bitcoin, and to withdraw, they must once again provide a Lightning address. And following its acquisition by Lolly, a major Bitcoin rewards platform, this ecosystem is consolidating.
Yes, Lolly now provides a custodial environment for shopping rewards, and with Slice, they capture browsing activity rewards. This creates a unified earning wallet that supports withdrawals to a Lightning address.
So it effectively turns the user's browser into a persistent, low-grade revenue generator, simply for performing their normal online routine.
That's the idea.
Now, let's talk about Mash, a truly radical architectural approach to web monetization designed to be almost invisible, the so-called walletless wallet. What technical challenge is Mash primarily trying to solve?
Mash has taken a strategic stand to bypass the most destructive factor for micropayments, the App Store fee structure imposed by Apple and Google.
The 30% tax.
The 30% tax. Mash operates as a progressive web app, or PWA, rather than a native iOS or Android app.
And why is that PWA decision so fundamental?
Because if Mash were a native app, every single in-app purchase, every zap, every micropayment would be subject to Apple and Google's mandated 30% fee. That instantly destroys the economics of sub-cent or penny transactions. By operating as a PWA, Mash sidesteps this massive barrier, allowing them to keep transactions virtually free and instant.
So once a user visits a Mash-powered site, they can create a hosted wallet with a Lightning address, username at mash.com. The user can then instantly click Boost or Unlock on premium content, and because the platform bypasses the App Store, the payment happens instantly on Mash's internal ledger.
The user experience is pure, frictionless utility. It feels like a universal coin for the web, instantly available when needed. The wallet is not something you open. It's a quiet process running invisibly in the background, ready to execute a payment on demand.
Speaking of browser utilities and custody, we have to note a major market signal involving a historical giant in the space, Albi.
Right, Albi was for a long time the foundational browser extension. They offered a free custodial Lightning address username at getalbi.com-and and injected the WebLN standard into the browser, allowing sites to prompt users for payment. They were really the original zero-setup gateway.
But our sources confirm a major strategic shift. As of 2025, Albi is actively phasing out its shared custodial wallet service for new users.
This is incredibly significant because it signals a maturation of the FiNa ecosystem. Albi is transitioning new users to Albi Hub, which is a self-custodial solution that connects to the user's own cloud or home node.
So while this is a move toward long-term sovereignty and decentralization, it leaves a huge immediate gap in the market for users looking for a purely custodial zero-setup address.
A gap now being aggressively filled by Primal, ZBD, and Fountain. It demonstrates that the initial custodial model is viewed as a necessary, successful on-ramp, but the pioneers are now attempting to graduate users to self-custody once the underlying network and tooling is mature enough to support it.
We see that same philosophical pipeline approach in community platforms like Stacker News, an economic forum where value is paramount.
Stacker News is interesting because you pay to post, and visibility is determined by upvotes, which are actually micro-tips. It's a true earn-to-post and community curation model that ties value directly to reputation.
And for users who don't connect their own wallet immediately, Stacker News provides a custodial ledger known as Cowboy Credits. They can deposit funds to their generated username at stacker.news address and participate instantly.
This is the soft custody model. It allows users to participate immediately, earning and spending, while the platform actively nudges them toward connecting their own self-custody wallets via NWC as they accumulate a meaningful amount of value.
The goal is to onboard them seamlessly, then encourage them towards sovereignty once they understand the utility.
And FiNa even extends into ubiquitous chat platforms like Telegram, thanks to sats.mobi. This is where ease of use meets massive scale. The bot integration is key.
Sats.Robi leverages the ubiquity of Telegram through the @SatsMobi bot. By simply interacting with the bot, a user creates a wallet linked to their Telegram account and automatically gets a username at sats.mobi address.
And this enables seamless tipping within chat groups. A user can type a simple command like tip 100 and instantly transfer funds within the application they already use every day. What's compelling here is that the bot also supports advanced features like converting the balance into a point-of-sale link for merchants or even linking an NFC card for physical payments.
So it connects the simple chat utility directly to real-world commerce.
Exactly.
So we have this thriving ecosystem defined by ease of use, instant onboarding, and a simple human-readable identity layer. But now we have to turn to the critical implications of this massive adoption of the custodial compromise.
Yes.
The convenience driving mass adoption comes at the cost of custody, and with that comes significant privacy and regulatory risk.
We need to discuss the paradox in detail. Let's start with privacy, which we might call the panopticon risk.
Okay, because unlike traditional ad tech, which infers user preference from messy data like clicks and browsing history, these custodial FiNa providers have hard data based on payments.
The clearest signal of consumer intent.
The clearest signal.
Precisely. ZBD knows precisely which games you play and which achievements you financially support. Fountain knows exactly which podcasts and specific segments you boost or stream value to. Traditional banking systems only know the sender and receiver of large amounts, but the FiNa providers know the specific reason, which content, which clip, which user for every fraction of a penny sent.
They are essentially the clearinghouse for your most granular economic decisions. While the user-specific balance is pooled within the massive custodial node, the metadata of who is paying whom and why is inherently visible and logged by the custodial provider.
And this creates a new paradigm of data privacy where the user is consciously or unconsciously trading transaction visibility for the utility of the seamless service. Furthermore, a static Lightning address like Alice at primal.net is a persistent identifier publicly linked to a Nostr profile. Any third party can query that address to see that it resolves back to Primal's node.
So the linkage between your social graph and your hard financial data is indelible within the custodial framework.
Yes. And as these entities start resembling financial institutions, they inevitably face the hammer of regulatory pressure, which threatens to dismantle their entire competitive advantage. The frictionlessness.
Absolutely. As custodians, these apps are immediately classified as money transmitters, or VASPs, virtual asset service providers, in many major jurisdictions, including the US and EU.
And this designation immediately incurs heavy KYC, know your customer, and AML, anti-money laundering compliance costs.
This regulatory friction is a direct threat to the seamless one-click onboarding experience that is their primary competitive advantage. If I have to submit my government ID and wait for verification just to send 50 cents, the FiNa model collapses.
And this is not a theoretical problem. It's had real-world consequences already. Wallet of Satoshi, a major custodial player that provided zero setup addresses, was forced to exit the U.S. market entirely due to this mounting regulatory pressure.
Yeah.
And ZBD, for its part, already imposes tiered limits based on identity verification. Primal currently operates with low friction for small amounts, but as the zapping velocity scales, they will inevitably be forced to implement stricter KYC, which would dramatically erode the zero setup advantage.
So the immediate future of FiNa is defined by this tension, convenience versus compliance. But what is the established path to sovereignty? How does the ecosystem mature past this necessary custodial dependency without losing the speed and zero-fee internal transactions?
The answer lies in the protocols that are being built today, which are specifically designed to decouple the user interface from the financial backend. We already highlighted the adoption of NWC, Nostr Wallet Connect, by platforms like Primal and Stacker News.
Right. NWC is the crucial standardization that prevents vendor lock-in. It means the Primal or ZBD interface could remain the slick, easy-to-use client, but the user could connect it to their own home node or a sophisticated community custody solution.
That's exactly where the next wave of innovation comes in. Alternative trust models that replace the single corporate custodian. We are seeing major development in protocols like Fedimint and Cashew, which rely on federated Chaumian eCash.
Okay, let's unpack this with a clear analogy. We understand centralized custody like ZBD and self-custody like Moon. Explain Fediment. If it uses blind signatures and federations, how does that make my money more private than the corporate ledger without the hassle of running my own node?
It's a distributed trust model. So instead of trusting one company's security and solvency like ZBD, you are trusting a federation of community members, often chosen by your local community or affinity group.
Like a neighborhood credit union, but secured cryptographically.
That's a great way to put it. If one member of the federation is compromised, the whole system doesn't fail. The custodial risk is distributed.
And the privacy benefit is superior.
Yes, due to the use of blind signatures. When you deposit funds, the Federation signs a token for you without knowing which specific token belongs to you. When you redeem it, they verify the signature but still don't know who you are.
So this allows for transactional privacy that isn't possible in the current corporate custodial model where every payment is logged.
Exactly. Fediment maintains the core benefits of the custodial model, ease of use and internal ledger efficiency, but removes the single corporate point of failure and restores privacy.
So we're ultimately heading toward a world where the Lightning address is as ubiquitous as an email field in a profile settings page.
I think so.
The wallet itself is being commoditized and hidden from the user interface because the backends, whether corporate custodial or community federated, are simply an invisible utility.
It will become an invisible utility, orchestrated in the background. Every app will effectively become a wallet, managing multiple interoperable addresses, routing funds automatically based on the context of the transaction, maybe even orchestrated by an AI agent or a master key. The idea of opening a separate, dedicated wallet app will soon feel archaic.
The wallet is dead. Long live the invisible ledger.
That's it.
We are truly witnessing the FiNa, or financial native application layer of the internet, being built in real time. The wallet is becoming a commodity, an invisible utility that is inextricably linking our identity and our value flows.
And this transformation forces us to consider the profound implications of convergence. What happens when every app you use is a wallet? And your digital identity, your primal Nostra key, your ZBD gamertag, your fountain screaming ID becomes inextricably linked to your financial identity. Are there regulatory and societal consequences of that kind of convergence?
And what does it mean for sovereignty when convenience demands such deep integration? That is the lasting thought we leave you with. This is a rapidly evolving frontier. New apps start, pivot, and inevitably some wind down. Yet this volatility is exciting because it means there's massive opportunity for those who can navigate the technical and regulatory landscape.
For those seeking an AI-driven coding project, be it a side hustle, a new career path, or even a retirement project, FiNa is ideal. Its open-source nature, immediate utility, and engaging challenges related to security, scalability, and user experience make it an incredible area to focus on right now.
This is a community effort. Our analysis is based on publicly available information, but the story is unfolding every day. Share your insights, critiques, or additional sources in the comments. If you are a finance expert or crypto native working on these solutions, especially on Fediment or NWC, please reach out. We'd love to collaborate.
As always, keep searching.
Keep the quest on.
I'm Satosha.
And I'm Satoshi.